All right, I have a piece of walnut here that's 2 inches thick, and it's 10 inches long and 7.5 inches wide at the widest point. And then I have it tapered down with a 10-degree angle here. I'm getting ready to make a kalimba, so I'm going to be turning this off centered. It'll be spinning like that. I'm going to create a round here and around here, so it'll be spun. It's actually centered right now along the 10 inches, so it's centered on 5. And I'll turn a bowl shape out of this. First thing I'm going to do is put a mortise in it for my scrolling jaw chuck. Anyway, a friend of mine sent me the tines to make a kalimba or a thumb piano, and I'm going to go about trying to make a thumb piano out of this block of wood. Alright, so I just noticed some cracking in this end grain up here, so I took some thin CA glue and just treated the end of it, soaked some in there. It's a fairly shallow, looks like split right there. Doesn't look like it's going to be a problem, but I just figured before I start turning, I would do a little bit of this end grain treatment. Flip it around, take a look down here. This end I don't see any splitting in at all, but I'll do a treatment on this as well. I'll just kind of come over, put a light bath of thin CA glue, and come back and wipe it in. Pre-treating some of that end. Even though I'm going to be turning most of that away, at least it's going to get down in there and kind of solidify that a little. I am going to be turning an arc on this, so most of that will just disappear, but that way if there are any chunks that might want to fly off, I feel like I'll have a better chance of them staying on. Alright, so now I've got to get, oops, sorry about that. Alright. Stop. I got to get some safety gear and stuff ready. Alright, so starting out nice and slow. Okay, right about there to start out with. I'm down around 600 RPM. Remove some stuff here. Okay. Stopping that. Coming up here. Okay, I'm going to do a little thing here. All right. All right, so here it is. After slicing the two sides off equally, all I did was put it on my chop saw upside down, hold it down, and make the cut, spin it, actually spin it, and make the cut. I just aligned it to the blade, making sure I was cutting off an equal amount, and it ended up real nice. Now I don't have any of that tear out here. I have a tiny bit here, but that's going to be able to be sanded out when I do the final sanding, just a tiny little corner of it. But I didn't want to go much further because it left me those two little edges for where I can hold it. So I think it's actually going to be pretty nice. And I left a little curve in here, hoping that that might make the sound just have a curve instead of a square edge to bounce into. Might just make it a little more interesting. We'll see what happens. Okay, so now I put some Yorkshire grit on the inside of this just to kind of soak in, and I'll buff it off later. That's just going to be the sealer for the inside of this. I'm probably put a little bit of wax in there as well, but I'm trying to leave it fairly natural inside of this with no real sealers. Then I have a little bit of oil migration here on the edge. I'll just do a scrape on that to get back to some raw wood on both sides, or a flat sand or something like that. But the next thing for me to do is make these two edges, and I'm not sure. I'm thinking I might do that out of some strips of what am I going to use? I might use some zebra wood. I think I'll do strips of zebra wood here on the side. Give that a try. So I'm just going to be ripping some strips here off of this nice piece of zebra that I have, some Zebrano, some of the stuff I have left over here. I'm just going to do 1/2 inch strip, and that'll be enough for me to get both sides. All right, so now I have my two pieces of zebra wood here. Those are going to be getting glued on here. These are like 5/16, or not even quite 5/16, about a fat 1/4 inch thick. Those are going to go on here, glue on each side, and then once I have those on, I'll be doing some more work to this to create the top panel. All right, so now the sides are gluing up, and I will go make a template for the top out of this piece here. All right, so I sanded, rough sanded those ends off so that I can now trace this out onto a board after I've done a little bit of milling. All right, so now I have sliced myself off a piece here that I started out about fat 5/16 or so. And what I did was ran this piece through the saw on all 4 sides. And then I had a connecting piece here in the middle that I used my my large tooth Japanese pull saw to cut the last little tenon holding the piece together. there in the middle. And then I just hand sanded this, and I got a nice flat piece down here now. And it looks like it's going to be a real pretty piece of Zebrano, or zebrawood. Round this, and then go cut it out on the bandsaw. Alright, so the top is now cut, and I don't glue it on yet because I have to do all the fitment of the rest of the parts that go on here first, and make the backer for the bridge rod. Alright, so now I glued a backer bar behind the tuning rod here, and I am now going to screw these screws in and apply the T-nuts behind them, and then I will make sure those T-nuts are, I'll probably put some keeper screws or something in there to make sure those can never back out. And I drilled the holes in this rod based on an older Kalimba that I have, that my friend who gave me this, RAM thumb pianos, Mr. Buzz Millman, gave me the parts for this, and then I'm doing the body. He gave me the tines and the bars and a whole bag of stuff here to make these with some instructions. So I'm going about making one, and so far it's turning out pretty sweet. Alright, so now I've got a couple keeper screws in here to keep those from ever being able to back out. And now I will be gluing this whole assembly together, like so, clamping it up and letting it cure. Alright, so now I've got it all clamped up, and I'll just let this cure for at least 2 hours, and then I'll be sanding off the top some more and getting rid of these overhung edges. I'll probably just route those off and then do some sanding. But I think it's going to turn out real nice. Everything's laid out. Piece of zebra wood looks real pretty. Alright, clamps are off, and I just used a flush trim router bit on my router here to route off the excess that was overhanging the edge. So now I have it's just a little bit of sanding, I'll end up with a really nice flush fit all the way around. Seems to have pretty good tone too. So I'm hoping it's going to make a nice Kalimba. What's up? Hey, I'm not shooting a lot of this because I need a cinematographer here sometimes, you know? Thank you so much for watching another episode of The Naked Turner. If you enjoyed this episode, please give me a like and share, and leave a comment if you so desire. Safe turning!